and welcome back. My name is Suzanne Price, and in this episode I am going to be talking about the symptoms, sensations, and feelings that you may experience when in a state of fear or suffering with anxiety, panic attacks, extreme stress, depression, or the like. As I was saying in the first video, even though many of these conditions are considered to be mental health issues or often termed as being mental illness, I truly believe, or I prefer to look at them as being a mind-body experience. I say that because we are mind-body entities. So what do I mean when I say that? Well, to cut a long story short, every thought that we have elicits a certain kind of feeling. And the same can happen in reverse as well, where a feeling can elicit a thought or a certain set of thoughts. I'm sure you can all think of times when this has happened. For instance, if you think about somebody you really care about, the chances are you're going to have some really good feelings about that person. The thought is eliciting some really pleasant feelings. If you think about somebody who has, let's say, taken advantage of you or betrayed you in some way, it's going to elicit different feelings. The same can happen in reverse. For instance, I might use an example of, let's say you hurt yourself, and that feeling, the pain, may bring to your mind a memory of somebody who's come to your aid in the past. The fact of the matter is, we are going through this cycle of thoughts and feelings on a continuous basis. We only typically are aware of the really positive ones or the really negative ones, the ones that stand out. So we can definitely say that fear or anything that we are afraid of is going to elicit some pretty negative feelings. Now, I want to point out, in my earlier video, I said that very often within the medical field, or perhaps we should say the pharmaceutical industry, it seems to be that it's typically thought of that any of these conditions have a chemical component to it. I'm not a doctor, I don't claim to be, and nor am I a scientist, so I'm actually not going to go into any of that. But we do know that every thought, every feeling does actually have somewhat of a chemical reaction in the body. Again, if you think about somebody you love, it's going to set off all these really good hormones in your body, these feel-good chemicals in your body. And again, same in reverse, if you think about something that really stresses you out, it's going to have an effect on the stress hormones in your body. So we're just going to keep it very simple and straightforward. The fact of the matter is, when we're in stress or when we're in fear, we often experience a lot of physical feelings and symptoms and sensations. And the weird thing is about it, there's so many of them, it's really hard to believe that they could be caused by something that we are thinking about. I mentioned in my first video that I had a massive panic attack when I was at work, and the feelings were absolutely incredible. I mean, you've got things like panic attacks for me, because I had many after, typically would start off with, all of a sudden I would get really hot around my face, my ears and my neck. This is very common, even down your back. You may get a ringing in your ears, a high-pitched ringing in your ears, which is very, very common for people who are stressed or suffering with anxiety or panic attacks, your vision may even go blurry. You can get a dry mouth, tightening in the throat, and your heart may be beating like crazy. All this has come about from something that you have perhaps seen or heard that has scared you. There is a very positive side to that, let's say, in that fear, when used at its best or in a natural situation, fear is actually a survival mechanism. And what is happening is the fight or flight response kicks in. And basically what that does is it gets your brain out of the way, so you're not thinking, okay, what should I do? Let's say that you were in a situation where your life was in danger, and all of a sudden you had to be able to survive, you had to be able to run for your life or to fight somebody off. The fight or flight response kicks in, and it's almost as though it gets your conscious mind out of the way and it takes over. It goes into autopilot. So you're not trying to figure out what to do. It just happens. And this whole plethora of activities take place in your body. You'll feel tense in your arms, your legs, and this is to do with the blood being moved around your body and going to your extremities, so you are able to run for your life or to fight. And because of this, you will have a lot of other chemical reactions. So in saying that, any thought or feeling does have somewhat of a chemical reaction associated with it. I'm not sure that I fully agree that as far as a condition is concerned, that it's all chemical. In fact, as I found out later for myself, there is also an energetic component to it as well. And it was when I realized this, after I discovered that we are a mind-body entity and that I was dealing with a mind-body condition, that I started to look into mind-body therapies, and I trained in them. And this is when I became consciously aware of the energy in our bodies and how that has a massive impact in how we feel and also how we can heal from many of these conditions. Anyways, let's just get back to the symptoms. So when in distress, you may be feeling, say that we can use the words fear and stress in this sort of situation, because I am really referring to what's happened since the pandemic event was rolled out. So many people have gone into a state of fear. A state is a mind-body experience that incorporates basically everything. It incorporates your breathing patterns, your posture, the positioning of your eyes or the movement of your eyes. Okay, so some of the symptoms you may be experiencing. Huge one is not being able to sleep, racing mind, feeling overwhelmed, can't think straight. Well, when you're in a state of stress, it's very difficult for your brain hemispheres to communicate with each other. And this is part of the reason why we can't think straight. You may get in the body, you may find that you're either really hot or really cold, or your temperature fluctuates a lot. You may have a dry mouth. You may have problems or difficulties swallowing because your mouth and your throat feels tense and dry. It's very likely that your breathing will change. Either you will breathe very rapidly and shallow, or some people try to over breathe and it's like a very forced feeling. I know for myself, before I had the anxiety and panic attacks, I did not realize it, but I was so stiff in my back, especially down the one side of my back. I'd actually gone to see a doctor because if I felt as though I was only breathing through one lung, I was so tight down my left-hand side. So a lot of muscle stiffness and tension and possibly pain. You may get tingling in your hands and feet. I mean, so many of these symptoms cross over with so many other things. In fact, it is well documented, and I have seen and read and heard this so many times, that so many people who think that they're having a heart attack, it very often turns out to be a panic attack. That's how close the symptoms are. There's so many of them. So again, racing heart or heart pounding, like really pounding out of your chest, upset stomach. You may feel like your legs feel like lead weights and you feel like you can't move barely. You may even get to the point that you feel literally paralyzed by fear. I know it sounds terrifying, but I do have some bad news and I do have some good news. The bad news is that any stress or fears that are left unchecked and they start to run out of control and become overwhelming, they can manifest into things like anxiety and panic attacks and depression. The good news is that this can all be prevented. And a lot of it is just by you knowing what is going on, you understanding what these symptoms are, you understanding where the stress is really coming from. So as I was saying, I just wanted to make this quick video about the symptoms and sensations. In saying that, I am not making these videos and I do not intend for them to be used as a form of self-diagnosis or as a substitute for you getting professional help from a doctor. If you have concerns about your health, you should definitely do that. You should definitely get help from a really good doctor. But get your questions answered. Make sure you're getting your questions answered. Don't just allow yourself to be brushed off with a prescription and nothing else, because the whole thing is as I said, this stuff can manifest and spiral out of control and manifest into more debilitating conditions. Nipping it in the bud and taking control of this is one of the best ways for prevention. So now that we've talked a little bit about the symptoms and sensations that you may be getting in your body, in the next video I'm going to talk a little bit more about the fears that different people have picked up on and have taken on in their lives since the rollout of the pandemic event. So I will end this video for now and I will make a follow-up video talking about the fears, because we need to start dismantling them and breaking them apart. Okay? Thank you. Take care of yourself and try to relax. I'll be giving you lots of tips and tools on how to do that shortly. Okay? Bye-bye.